everyone, I am Mrs. Bryan. I am your student's algebra teacher this year, and this presentation is going to be going over the class syllabus. This is what my classroom looks like. The desks may be arranged in a different order this year, but this is where students can find their assignments, and I also value a growth mindset, which we're going to talk about now. So it is very important that your student demonstrates their growth mindset this year. It is okay to make mistakes, but we must learn from those mistakes. We're going to value growth over grades, and we're going to work together as a team in this class. There will be challenges this year that I throw at your students, and they must be able to persevere through challenges, so that means they should not quit. They need to keep going. And then lastly, we're not going to compare ourselves to others. These are the expectations that I have of your student. I want them to be responsible, so they're not going to rush through their assignments, they're going to minimize their distractions, and they're going to work with students that allow them to learn. They're going to invest in themselves, which means to advocate for themselves and ask questions. They are now in middle school, so they should be learning how to speak up for themselves. I want them to be prepared. I'm going to expect your student to come to class prepared every single day. They should have all their materials ready before the bell rings. And when taking a test, they do need to study in this class. And we'll go over classroom materials in a little bit. But I also want them to be respectful, which means that they're going to stay engaged in my lessons and stay engaged during class. They're going to use their Chromebooks for education purposes only, and they're going to stay honest and keep answers to themselves. Lastly, I want them to be positive. I want them to be kind to themselves and others always, and I want them to have fun this year. These are the classroom materials that your student needs to bring. I should also have headphones on there, but Chromebook fully charged, their binder/folder to organize their materials, pencils, a calculator, their notes packets, and like I said, I should have headphones on there as well, so headphones. Formative assessments. Now, formative assessments are the homework and the in-class work that we do. Now, while they are not part of your student's grade, your student does need to complete their formative assessments because it's necessary for growth. Your student's brain is a muscle, and in order to strengthen muscles, we need to exercise them. And how we exercise them is we complete our assignments and we practice the skills. So formative assessments, they should be working on their formative assessments during class, and you should also expect your student to spend at least 30 minutes on algebra homework at home. Formative assessments, they can work with other classmates and get help from them. However, they shouldn't just be copying answers from the other classmates, they should be working with them. And then on formative assessments, they can use their notes to help them as well. So what the formative assessments are is your student will be taking notes over Edpuzzle videos at home, and they should be taking detailed notes, and their Edpuzzles should be done at home only. And these will be marked as complete or missing in Infinite Campus, so you can easily see if your student did not complete the Edpuzzle video if you check Infinite Campus. Now the group work. Your students will be doing group work or work done in groups, and they will be working together in a group to help them solve problems. If the group work is not finished, your student does need to take it home with them and finish it at home. The group work will be marked as complete or missing because what's going to happen is your student is going to turn in the group work the very next day, and we're going to look to make sure that it is completed. And if it's completed, then it will be marked as complete. But if your student did not finish their group work at home, then it will be marked as missing. And then your student's going to have an individual work portion that can also be done in class. But again, if they do not finish it during class, they would need to finish it up for homework. And the individual work will always be out of 4 points. And that will be shown on Infinite Campus. And the reason why the individual work will be out of 4 points is so you can see at home how your student is doing on each specific skill. And individual work should be done individually because I want to see what your student learned. If you see that your student keeps getting zeros on their individual work, that either means that they did not complete the work or that they're not doing well on the skills. So you want to keep track of your students' individual work in order to see how they're doing in the class. And now when I say it's always out of 4 points, these 4 points will not be part of your student's grade because these are formative assessments just to show you how your student is doing in class. Again, formative assessments are necessary for growth, so they do need to practice the skills at home. And also, the formative assessments are mandatory in order for your student to have a retake opportunity. And we'll talk more about retake opportunities in the last bit of this presentation. Summative assessments. These are only done in class. And your student only gets the 45-minute class period to do a summative assessment. They do not get extra time. Your student needs to learn how to take a test in a specific time frame and how to manage their time when they're taking their test. Your student must show work on their tests, otherwise they will not receive credit. So make sure that your student is getting used to showing their work and showing their thoughts. Summative assessments are done alone, and they do not get the use of their notes packets. For most of my summative assessments, your student will get access to a calculator. So that's one of the material items that they need to bring to class. So on test days, they absolutely need to have a calculator because they can use it on the test. Now, tests are 100% of their grade, and they would get one opportunity to retake each test as long as they meet the retake requirements, which we, again, will be talking about retakes in a little bit. These are the units or modules, we call them, that your students will be learning this year. And I'm sorry, I don't know what this little box is, and I don't know how to get rid of it. But Module 2 is functions, so they will be learning functions. And so these are all the things that we're going to be doing this year. So Infinite Campus and sometimes I'll call it IC and Canvas. So what do you as parents need to access? You as parents should be looking at your students' Infinite Campus. So Infinite Campus can be used to find your current grade and what assignments are missing. Infinite Campus should be checked weekly by both parents, guardians, and the students. All students should know what their current grade is at any time. All students should know what missing assignments they have. Now, your students are going to be using Canvas every day. Canvas is going to house all of my assignments that I give, including extra copies of everything. So if your student ends up losing something, they can go on Canvas and print off what they lost because they have that access at home. And Canvas tells them what expectations they have every day, and it should be checked daily by your student. If your student needs extra help, it is their responsibility to engage in all lessons and to advocate for themselves. It is your student's responsibility to ask questions when they do not understand something. Absences. If your student is absent, any work that was due the day that they were gone will be due upon their return. You are expected to keep up with assignments that are assigned when you were gone by checking Canvas and completing the work that was assigned, especially if it's an unexcused absence. For any absence, you are responsible for all the work assigned during your absence. Otherwise, it will be counted as missing and you will need to make up that work. And then if you are absent the day of a summative, you will need to work with the teacher on how to make up that summative. Students that miss a summative will take the test the day that they return unless they had an excused absence for 2 or more consecutive instructional days. Now, I'm not talking about review days because sometimes we will do a review day. If your student is absent on a review day, they will be expected to take the test along with the other students. So what do I expect of my learners? I expect my learners to take detailed notes over the lessons. I expect them to complete formatives with integrity. So that means that they are doing their group work and their individual work they're working as a team during group work. They're not rushing through their work. They're doing their work mindfully. They're slowing down to make sure that they understand everything. And their individual work, they're not just copying the answers from other students. They're doing it individually to show me if they learned the material or if they need some extra help on that material. I want my learners not to be afraid to make mistakes, because the only way that they will learn is if they make mistakes and they learn from those mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes, just make sure that you learn from it. I want my learners to communicate with me. I am a very approachable teacher, and I want them to be comfortable to come to me about any issue that they have, and I want them to advocate for themselves. If they're struggling, they need to tell me, they need to ask me questions. I also want your student to be honest. They can work together with other students. However, there's a difference between working together and just copying down answers from another student. So working together, if they are not understanding something, they should not copy down the answers from another student. They should ask that student for help or ask the teacher for help. And then lastly, I want your student to spend at least 30 minutes on algebra every night. Now, what can you expect from me? I'm going to have high expectations of the students. All my students are in my class for a reason. That means that they are capable of being successful in my class. They were placed in my class because they are bright at math. I'm not going to tolerate laziness. I'm going to expect your student to do their assignments, and if they're not keeping up, then they need to make a change. I'm also going to expect that your students' answers, I'm also going to have you guys expect from me that I'm going to answer your questions and guide your students towards success. I will be communicating with you, the students, and the parents frequently, and I will encourage your student and help them when they ask questions. Now, what I expect from my guardians or my parents, I expect them to celebrate growth over grades. I want you to celebrate all successes, no matter how small they are, with your student. I want you to check in with your student every night. So if your student is having issues with managing their time or helping them or missing assignments, I want you to help them set a schedule. I want you to help them set alarms. I suggest that your student works at least 30 minutes on math each night. So I want you to check their notes to make sure that their student is working. If your student has questions, I want you to encourage them to approach me and ask me or email me. I want to get emails from your students, though. I'd rather get students or emails from your students instead of you as a parent or guardian, because this is going to teach your learner how to advocate for themselves. And if your student's doing well in math and has no issues, you can take on a more hands-off approach. And you can start to kind of wean off the checking in on them every night. And then lastly, I want you to check your email frequently from me for any communication from me, and make sure to read my emails thoroughly. All right, lastly, retake expectations. So if your student does not do so well on a test, they have a retake opportunity. However, the only way that they have the retake opportunity is if they have all assignments for that standard completed and turned in by the initial summative assessment date. They also should have tried their best on their initial summative assessment. That means if they turn in a test blank or parts of it blank, I may not give them the retake opportunity because they did not put forth the effort to actually trying the problems on the test. Now, if it was truly a time issue, I would make an exception. And then I want no off-task behavior during my class. If I catch our student playing games on their Chromebook or watching YouTube videos when they should be working on math, that's telling me that this standard is not very important to them, and they do not deserve a retake if they're going to be not working and utilizing their full 45-minute class period to work. Your student, if they meet numbers 1 through 3, then they need to complete relearning videos and take notes on them on a separate sheet of paper. These videos are posted on Canvas. They also need to do reflective test corrections, correcting their mistakes from the original summative, and the form can be found in class to do this, or it can be found on Canvas as well. And the requirements need to be turned in by the date that the teacher sets, and they need to show up to the retake date when the teacher sets the date. And then when retaking, students do not need to retake all the levels. My tests are divided into levels 1 through 4. If students are retaking multiple levels, though, these need to be completed at one time. All right, I hope you learned everything about the syllabus. Have a great day.